There is a lot of anger and fear in Iran. I've spoken to many people who were woken up by the sound of explosions in the Iranian capital, Tehran. They're still reeling from what is actually transpiring. People are still in shock that Israel has carried out a number of attacks across the country, but of course the biggest ones being in the capital, Tehran, in densely populated civilian areas. A number of neighborhoods in North Tehran and east and western part of the capital came under attack by Israel. What they said, they were targeting military commanders, whereas the civilian population is caught in the middle. People in Iran haven't seen this kind of attacks since the Iran-Iraq War, which ended in 1988. So there's still a lot of fear that this is going to continue in the days ahead and that the worst is yet to come.
We have huge breaking news right now. Israel has just launched a strike against Iran. According to Israel's Minister of Defense, he has declared a special state of emergency in Israel throughout the entire state of Israel, saying, quote, following the state of Israel's preemptive strikes against Iran, a missile and drone strike against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future. Sirens are going off across Israel. Explosions are being heard across Iran right now. The United States ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, made a very unusual statement recently saying, quote, at our embassy in Jerusalem and closely following the situation, we will remain here all night. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Folks, this is very serious. Israel is striking Iran. This could be a full-scale war in the Middle East, one that we have not seen in a very long time. It's going to be a very long night. I'll be providing you updates every step of the way. This is something that many people feared. Many people didn't want Israel to do this, and yet it looks like Israel went ahead and did it anyway.
ساختمون ترکید نمیدونم موشک زدن چی زدن واحدهای بغلی رو خبر ندارم.
Israel has launched what it is calling a preemptive strike on Iran. While we have seen explosions in Iran tonight, we're working this hour to determine the scale and the scope of the attack that is unfolding right now as we come on the air. The Israeli military confirms tonight that Iran's nuclear program and other military targets are part of these strikes, as sources tell CNN that the operation will happen in waves, that this is not expected to be a one-day mission, that we will see multiple rounds of what is playing out tonight. Meantime, at the White House, President Trump is going to convene a cabinet-level meeting, we are told, as soon as tomorrow, as U.S. officials tell CNN there was no U.S. involvement or assistance in these strikes. But it does appear that the United States got a heads up. We just got this statement from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, on what's unfolding in Iran tonight. I want to read it for you in full, where Secretary Rubio said, quote, tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel has advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Secretary Rubio goes on to say, quote, let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interest or personnel. This comes as Israel tonight has declared a state of emergency there, as officials say they do anticipate a missile and drone attack, a counter-response from Iran. It's unclear what role, if any, the United States would play in defending Israel from an Iranian attack, as the Biden administration did last October.
Breaking news at this time, as explosions have been reported inside of Tehran, as Israel says it's striking Iran's nuclear and military sites. According to an Israeli security source that briefed reporters, they said that Iran's top military leaders, as well as senior nuclear scientists, were targeted in the opening strikes and that, quote, chances are increasing that they were eliminated. We're also learning that there were dozens of targets and that the strikes were a preemptive, precise, and combined offensive that included dozens of targets across Iran. And that the United States did make sure to say here, there was absolutely no U.S. involvement. That actually came from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In a statement, he said tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel's prime minister said in a statement that Israel will continue these strikes for, quote, many days, and that this is a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. Guys, this information is going to be coming in fast, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.
So this is what Tehran looks like right now, as Israel has now confirmed that they are carrying out military operations against Iran. They say the name of this operation is Strength of a Lion, and the focus here is the Iranian nuclear program. Now, what we've seen already in some pictures and videos appear to be high-level assassinations going after IRGC leaders, maybe other senior officials in the Iranian government. Just talking about like penthouses being hit in certain apartment complexes. Nonetheless, the IDF says that Iran has enough enriched uranium to build several bombs within days, and they needed to act against this imminent threat. Right now, we know that sirens are going off across Israel. The population there has been warned of a likely response. The IDF said that they are preparing for heavy fire from Iran in response to its airstrikes tonight, saying at the end of the operation, there will no longer be an Iranian nuclear threat. However, they do expect that this is going to take a couple days. There's no indication that this is just going to be a few hours here. This is probably going to be a multi-day, possibly even multi-week operation. The United States, for their part, right now is stressing that they have no involvement. There is no direct U.S. forces involved in this strike. It does seem as though the U.S. may have been informed before the attacks started to go off, but no American aircraft overhead.
Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary. Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be, I'd much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon.
We have breaking news right now. There are reports that Israel has struck nuclear facilities in Iran, as Donald Trump, according to CNN, has convened an emergency cabinet meeting this evening to discuss the Israeli strikes on Iran. Now, Israel has closed its airspace overhead. Israel is saying the reason it has launched these strikes against Iran is because Iran was days away from completing up to 15 nuclear bombs. We now have reports, though, that Israel has struck Tehran, the capital of Iran, that Iran is preparing a massive counterattack that could begin as soon as tonight. Donald Trump is currently in an emergency cabinet meeting. This is getting very serious very quickly, and it's going to get worse overnight. Israeli officials are preparing for a possible conflict that could span several days in length. Now, the United States had no involvement, according to Reuters, in this attack.
Jesus Christ, it is just one thing after another, and it is relentless with this Zionist, fascist, genocidal state. Israel has officially bombed Tehran, with Iranians reporting explosions in different neighborhoods across the city. Solidarity with the people of Iran, and may the Zionist fascist regime fall, so that all people of the Middle East may be free. And may the fall of the Zionist regime be the collapse of American empire.
Okay, guys, big news today. It looks like things are going down with Iran. Israel is apparently gearing up to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, and the U.S. is pre-positioning by evacuating employees in Iraq, Bahrain, Kuwait, and they are tightening travel restrictions on embassy staff in Israel. So this begs the question, what is going on with the U.S.-Iran deal? It seems from this to be very much unraveling. Shocker, negotiations have been going on since April, but the cracks are deepening, and even Trump himself said that he is less than confident that a deal is possible. Plus, Iran just revealed a secret third uranium enrichment site and is racing ahead with more advanced machines that enrich uranium, and that is a huge red line for the U.S. government. The question is all of this just a stunt? Is it a way to rattle Iran without firing a shot? It could be, but it's really hard to know right now. The evacuation and travel bans are classic pressure plays, signaling real concern without yet launching an attack. And it lets the US and Israel dial up the threat without tipping into an outright war. But here is the bottom line, and this is what Steve Witkoff was driving home last night at the United Hatzalah Gala. Iran cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon, period, end of story. And if the diplomacy is clearly weakening, we will just have to wait and see if Iran halts their enrichment or this escalation is going to go much further. We'll have to wait and see.
We have two major updates right now regarding Israel's attack on Iran. Number one, according to CNN, this is not going to be a one-day attack. This is going to be a multi-day attack, likely by Israel on Iran. There are initial reports that Iran has scrambled fighter jets, that it may soon be launching ballistic missiles at Israel. Stay tuned. But number two, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has issued a new statement confirming that the United States had no involvement in the attacks by Israel this evening. Let me read you the full statement right now. Marco Rubio said, quote, "Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We were not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us they believed this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel." That's significant because it doesn't say that the United States will back Israel.
Israel just struck Iran's capital, Tehran, multiple times, and here's everything we know. Iranian residents are reporting that the airstrikes hit residential buildings and apartment complexes. Reports of multi-civilian casualties. We don't know the number. We don't know how many are injured, how many were killed. This is very preemptive. This just happened. As you can see with the pictures and the videos that I'm showing, these are all civilian apartments where people like you and I live in. It is a very, very, very big deal. I'm saying this as an Iranian. So far, all of the strikes that Israel has hit into Iran has been military or something related to the government. Iran decides to do in retaliation, I don't know. Does this have the potential of World War III? It does, but we don't have enough information to be able to conclude that right now. Iran is about to go to the 6th round of negotiations in Oman with America about the nuclear deal, and Israel has been threatening to bomb them if these negotiations continue to happen, and both America and and Iran have been going to these negotiations. So far, people thought that Israel was just bluffing, but clearly they're not. I'm trying to get into contact with my family in Iran so I can get more information from them. Last time Israel struck Iran, it was a lot of a nothing burger. Not much happened. We'll be following this news very closely, so please make sure you follow me, and I will be posting updates by the minute as I get them.
Shalom, Haverim. Israel has preemptively attacked the Islamic Republic of Iran. Israel Minister of Defense Katz, following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future. He is also stating that Israel Katz, the defense minister, has immediately declared a special state of emergency in the home front throughout the entire state of Israel. Holy cow, what is going to happen? No joke, I was just literally on a live in which the topic was war in Iran, what good or bad? And we were going back and forth, and literally as opinionated girl is closing up, she's like, okay, everybody do their final statements. And we're like all talking and we're finishing up, and she's kind of like laughing, looking at something, and literally as we're finishing, she's like, oh yeah, Israel just attacked Iran. So obviously, we're going to have like a ton of updates. I'll do my best. This is insane. Let's go! We're going! Shalom Aleichem!
Very, very breaking news. There are multiple reports of many explosions happening in Tehran, the capital of Iran, right now as I speak. Israelis have also received this message on their phone. In English, it says, emergency alert, severe warning. Please follow the home front command instructions. Due to a significant threat scenario, you must follow the home front command instructions as broadcast on all media channels. Now, we all know these past days, United States President Donald Trump has been pretty vague, but has explained that he has evacuated certain areas within Iran's strikes from U.S. embassies, etc. And they're all demanding a report to go back to the White House on threat assessment. When asked why he did this, he said, I'm not going to say if anything is imminent or not, but things could happen, and it looks like it's happening. This comes after multiple rounds of talks and rejections by Iran to have any sort of diplomacy and walk away from any deal that the United States President Donald Trump has put forth. And the Israeli government said that they will wait for one more round of talk. That failed, and here we are. Yeah, I'm actually reading right now that there was additional airstrikes that just happened even after the first round. So I'll give more information as I get it.
We have some very serious breaking news that just happened that has yet to hit the mainstream media. Israel just launched a pretty major attack on Iran that could result potentially in a full-scale war throughout the entire Middle East. And honestly, who knows where else? Here's everything we know so far, and make sure you like and follow along to stay up to date with more news. Explosions can be heard ringing throughout Iran's capital as Israel claims it is attacking the country. Their defense minister announced a special situation over the attacks, and he said schools would be closed in the country on Friday. Allegedly, returning drone strikes against Israel are expected coming up here in the near future. There are some videos of the capital and what looks like potentially the attacks going around Twitter right now, as well as some photos of the capital where you can see smoke, which I'm assuming is part of the attacks. This is all a very serious situation that potentially could and probably will have global impacts. And if you're wondering where Donnie was during all of this whilst it was all happened, I'm so glad you asked. Allegedly, he was on the White House lawn taking photos with people and shaking hands.
Israel just attacked Iran. This may not seem like it affects you, but it does. Our government has consistently said that Israel is our greatest ally and we cannot let anyone hurt them. Now, reports are showing that the Trump team and Israel have been in talks and that the United States said that they will not get involved in this military conflict. Honestly, that's just hard to believe. So right now, they are actually blowing the sirens in Israel, fully expecting Iran to attack back. Guys, I'm telling you, this is every warmonger's wet dream. Lindsey Graham is a Republican senator and he gets paid off by all of the military industrial complex companies. And he said, game on, pray for Israel. Like, this just makes me think that he thinks that this is a game and it's fun. This is not fun. This is not a game because our troops can very much be affected here. And less important, our money is going to be sent overseas once again. You know, Trump said that he was going to be the peace president, whether you like Trump or not. And honestly, we need to hold him to that. We should not be getting involved in this conflict. There's a lot that I want to be reporting on right now, but honestly, this seems like the biggest news. I know we say it all the time that like this could start World War III, but this really could. But as always, let me know your thoughts and make sure you're following me for more.
Breaking: Israel is bombing Iran. And why? Because Israel does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons, and Iran is close to having nuclear weapons. Israel's scared by this, and Iran just announced plans to build a new uranium enrichment facility further highlighting Israel's concerns. Uranium is the key ingredient in nuclear bombs. The United States also does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. We've been in discussions with them trying to limit what they can do nuclear bomb-wise, but Israel doesn't think we're going far enough. Israel does not want Iran even close to making nuclear weapons. And why? Because Iran funds terrorist groups that hate Jewish people like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Houthis in Yemen. Iran provides these terrorist groups with money, weapons, training, and together they form this little axis of resistance. And their goal is to destroy Israel and get rid of all of the Western influence from the Middle East. The bad countries over there, they hate the West. So if they had a nuclear weapon, not only would it be bad for Israel, it would be bad for America. Israel has hit Iran before. They hit them really hard in October of 2024, and they really ruined their missile production capabilities. Now Israel is going back in, likely because Iran rejected the United States' proposal for Iran to limit their nuclear program. So very quickly, Iran wants bomb. Israel does not want Iran to have bomb. United States does not want Iran to have bomb. Hamas, terrorists, bad people, want Iran to have bomb. So to stop Iran from having nuclear bomb, Israel bomb.
We have major breaking news right now. The Israeli military is calling up, quote, tens of thousands of soldiers as we speak, according to the chief of staff. Meanwhile, according to Iranian state media, the top commander of the IRGC was targeted in Israeli airstrikes and is dead. That's the top military leader in Iran. Israel did strike Iran's nuclear facilities across the country. According to the New York Times, the Israeli military launched targets at 6 military bases around Tehran, along with residential homes and 2 highly secure military complexes for military commanders and multiple residential buildings around Tehran. Those appear to be targeted assassinations, one of which was likely the head of the IRGC. Assuming this is true, folks, this is going to turn into a much bigger war very quickly, and it looks as though Israel is preparing for it right now. Iran is also preparing for it.
Benjamin Netanyahu has revealed that Operation Rising Lion, which involved more than 200 Israeli jets, targeted an Iranian nuclear facility in Natanz and the country's ballistic missile program.
بالای میدان نومونیات همین الان دخترش زیر آبان 4 طبقه.
Israel has carried out a wave of strikes against at least dozens of targets in Iran, including nuclear facilities, ballistic missile sites, and some of the country's top military and nuclear officials. The key question is, why now? Well, first, from Iran's perspective. Iran is arguably at its weakest point in decades. Some of its strongest assets in the region, for example, its proxy, Hezbollah, has been decimated, and that has left Iran without the foothold that it has traditionally held in the region. In addition, its economy has now been under punishing sanctions for years, and that has left it weaker and more isolated economically. From Israel's perspective, an Israeli official says they looked at now as the right time to act militarily and diplomatically, especially as the U.S. was watching what it saw as Israeli preparations for a strike. Israel says Iran was continuing to enrich uranium towards higher enriched uranium that would be capable of fueling a nuclear weapon. That, for Israel, was a red line, in addition to the thousands of ballistic missiles that have in the past been fired on Israel. The timing, of course, is also remarkable because the U.S. and Iran were about to go into a 6th round of nuclear negotiations to try to get to some sort of nuclear deal. Israel's strikes make that, in all likelihood, absolutely impossible. In addition, this week, the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran was in violation of its non-proliferation obligations. Iran responded angrily by saying it would launch a new enrichment facility with the latest in centrifuges. Given all of that, Israel felt it was the time to act, and it did so, crucially though, unilaterally, and that is a point the U.S. has made abundantly clear.
We are now hearing a lot from Iran, and in it's getting pretty bad. In one of their social media tweets, they wrote, blood for blood. Another one saying, remember, we didn't initiate it. But now we're getting this one. Every drop of blood spilled on the ground will blossom into the flower of victory. Let them kill as many as they want. We will not back down. They've shown that they even target scientific warriors, so we too hold on to that hope that one day we may be martyred. And then their commander-in-chief ordered a harsh response to the people or masterminds of this aggression. Directly after his announcement, we then saw an announcement from the IDF. Their statement went on to say, we can now confirm that the Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, Commander of the IRGC, and the Commander of Iran's Emergency Command were all eliminated in the Israeli strike across Iran by more than 200 fighter jets. They ended with, these are 3 ruthless mass murderers with international blood in their hands. The world is a better place without them.
The AFP news agency is reporting that around 100 drones have been fired by Iran towards Israel, and the Israeli military is reporting that the army is working to intercept them. So up to 100 drones have been fired from Iran towards Israel. We also had a bit more information earlier when the Israeli army confirmed that 200 jets had been involved in those Iranian raids and struck around 100 targets.
دقیقاً بغل همین نمایشگاه رو زدن روبروی کوه نور. خونه و مونه و زن و بچه مردم رو زدن. همه رو زدن.
We have breaking news right now. Israel has announced that there is a second round of strikes on Iran happening right now as we speak. A number of targets across Iran are being hit right now. Once again, this comes after the first wave targeted a number of nuclear facilities, military installations, and senior political and military leaders. Meanwhile, Iranian officials are telling Reuters that a strong response is coming. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like, whether it's going to be a ballistic missile response or elsewhere. Donald Trump will be convening the National Security Council in the White House tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And there are preliminary reports that hospitals in Israel are moving departments underground in preparation of what will likely be a very strong and massive response from Iran. It's going to be a very long night, but it's also going to be a very long several days and potentially weeks.
The U.S. is saying they have absolutely no involvement about what is happening in Iran right now, in which Israeli forces are striking military targets inside of Iran. The official announcement came from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement, "Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region," adding that Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. And then made sure to say later, "Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel." That aside, now we know why the United States decided to divert those missiles from Ukraine to the Middle East. I guess they had intel early on stating that something was going to happen.
مهدی صاحب زمان صاحب عزاست امروز مرگ بر آمریکا جنایت اسرائیل مرگ بر اسرائیل مرگ بر اسرائیل مرگ بر اسرائیل
فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمون مسکونی
Israel is currently bombing Iran and bombing Gaza. Because why kill civilians in one country when you could kill civilians in more than one country? They're literally bombing tents in Khan Yunis and apartment buildings in Tehran. The US knew. Rubio just said that they knew that Israel was going to bomb Iran. The world will not know peace while Israel exists. The world can only know peace when Israel ceases to exist. There are videos in multiple countries of children decapitated, their limbs blown off, blood everywhere, dead under piles of rubble because of Israel and because of the US. It is not an exaggeration to say that anti-Zionism is critical, central to the preservation of humanity and the human race. Everything Israel is, everything it does, is leading us closer and closer to extinction. Weapons manufacturing, surveillance, repression tactics, police tactics, not to mention the pure carbon emissions of bombing Gaza relentlessly, and all of these other places. Israel has bombed 5 different countries during this genocide. 5 countries. And yet somehow we're meant to believe that it's the other people who are aggressors, that it's not Israel that's the problem, it's all these other countries. If you've got beef with fucking everybody, maybe you're the problem.